Hey YouTube, what's up? It's Sparkles here, and today I am doing part 5 of my dad told me not to go into the basement. I was going to do this last night, but I got interrupted, so I decided today, when nobody's here, if it's at work, I decided to go be in a Batman mood today, so I'm wearing Batman, and I'm wearing black skinny jeans. So, before we get started, please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell button down below. Let's get on to the video. Okay. Okay, let's go. What is clear to me now is that I am being haunted. Whatever force dragged my family to the basement and killed my father has turned its attention on to me. I spent a long time after my brother told me the truth in the park, coming to grips with what was happening around me. Part of me was convinced that some malevolent being had taken hold of my dad until there had been nothing left, drained the life right out of him. But the other half of me, the half that listened to reason and logic, particularly screaming at me that I was simply losing my mind, that half tried to convince me that I in fact did not see a woman in the basement the night my father died, holding back the other end of the rope that was wrapped around his neck. That half told me that my mind created a reality that would not accept the devastating truth of what really happened that night. For a while I started to believe that half of myself, the half that believed the simplest explanation was the only explanation. Last night proved that half of me wrong. Yesterday morning turned out to be the end of my self-exposed exile. Months had gone by since the day my brother had told me my dad died in the basement. I had been imagining my dad was alive for almost my entire adult life. The casual breath, my feet opened. I think that's like a chest beneath my feet opened up, swallowed me whole. I was devastated, bedridden, a hollow shell of my former self. But yesterday morning, I woke up with a purpose. It was a dream of all things that pulled me out of the abyss. I am not even sure I would call it a dream. It was more like a memory, forgotten detail yanked out from the deepest recess of my mind. I am 3 years old. The house is quiet, the kind of silence that slowly settles into a place, like falling snow that builds up around your feet. I am crawling around our living room, my father's feet on the floor as he sleeps soundly on the couch. I dug in and out of them as if they were the tallest redwoods of an ancient forest. Suddenly I'm drawn to the corner of the room where I know the basement stairs are. I pause, unsure if I should go towards them, but unable to pull myself away. I stand up on my two tiny feet, wavering as I find my balance. I glance back at my dad, but his eyes are still closed. I take attentive steps toward the stairs when I lose my balance and pitch forward. I let out a tiny scream as I wait for my body to tumble down the stairs, my little bones crunching against each landing, my skin scraping away, leaving a trail of blood for my father to find, except none of these things happened. I simply hit the solid floor bruising my knee, but nothing more. Then I woke up. I sat there in bed, hardly believing what I just remembered, how I could have forgotten. There wasn't always a basement in my house. It's so weird, ain't it? The revelation stuns me. Try as I might, I cannot remember anybody building the basement. To me, it had always been there. No, now I know this is not the truth of things. I prepared myself for the day ahead. My hometown was an hour drive north of where I currently live, and it was only there that I would find answers. As I got into my car, I thought about calling my brother, asking him when the basement was built. But as I imagined myself talking to him, I realized I wasn't ready to do such a thing yet. Despite several attempts to try and talk to me, I hadn't spoke to him since that day in the park. I needed more time to gather myself. I needed to figure this out on my own. I also wasn't ready to visit the house yet. That I feared would, would come when I had the answers. I needed my first stop was the town hall. I wanted to dig up the original blueprints of the house. I could not bring myself to completely trust my memories yet. But I knew those documents wouldn't lie. If I was right, my house didn't originally have a basement, then not only would the original blueprints prove this, but perhaps there would also be evidence of when the basement was built. Some kind of proposal approved by the town or something similar. I pulled into the parking lot of the town hall under dark gray skies. I opened the door only to be met by a biting chilly air. I glanced around, saw only a few cars around despite it being the middle of the day. This town was small, but I still expected more people to be shuffling around. Even the streets were relatively silent. I'd passed a few cars coming in, but now everything was as quiet as one of the old abandoned towns you hear about. This place is long forgotten as time and nature grow. Away in their guts, were it not for the woman I could see through the glass doors of the town while sitting inside, I swear I was in one of those towns, waiting for the ghosts of people once forgotten to drag me away and become lost with the rest of them. I shivered as I made my way to town hall. The greeting from the woman at the front desk was chilly as the air outside. She seemed tired and dazed, her white thinning hair a product of age and ill care. She greeted me half-heartedly as lazy. "How can I help you?" emitting slowly from her cracked lips. I told her who I was, where I had lived, and what I wanted. I thought, perceiving a faint uptick of her white eyebrows, a slight recognition in her dark brown eyes as she looked me once over, but the moment passed as quickly as it came, and her face drooped back down, and she put one hand on her chin and her elbow propped up on the desk. She took her free hand and pointed a bony finger towards the elevator as her mouth drawled out. "Level 1. In response to my quizzical look. I thanked her and moved her towards the elevator, looking back to find her staring at me as I pressed the call button. We both stood there as the elevator made its way towards us. Her eyes were vacant, as if she wasn't truly looking at me, but instead through me. Perhaps I reminded her of someone, or maybe she really did recognize me or my name. Just more things on the ever-growing list of things I will never know. I stepped inside the elevator and pressed the button for level 1. Movies and televisions have made me expect elevator music to be playing whenever I step into one, but the only sounds I heard were the groaning of the cables strained against the weight of the cab. The elevator stopped, and it stepped out into darkness, the doors closing behind me. Before I realized the light coming from inside was my only source, I was plunged into suffocating blackness. I started to breathe quickly, praying silently that whatever was happening to me wouldn't happen again. Not here. Not now. I tried to listen for sounds of shuffling feet, but I could hear nothing over the sounds of my own laborious breathing. I took one tentative step forward, almost cried out in relief when an overhead fluorescent light flickered to life. Motion sensors to keep this place in darkness. If people were milling about, a cheap and effective way to save on electricity costs. After seconds, After a few seconds of adjusting, my eyes saw a sprawling cavernous archive room, row upon row of metal shelves filled with boxes. As far as I could see, I found it hard to believe this place could be so big considering how small the town hall looked from the outside. As I started to make my way through the corridors, I couldn't help but be reminded of the large stacks in my university library. That place had been so big, over 20 floors of research material, that people could get away with almost anything if they timed it right. I had heard of stories of people smoking up, having sex, drinking beer, and the usual harmless college activities. Other stories surfaced, stories of not so harmless things, just peering in the depths of the gigantic library shelves. Most were simply fables, scaretastics, to ensure you weren't alone for too long in one area, or that you had told one person where you were going and how long you'd be there. I surrendered as my imagination took me to dark places. My university roommate had told me one story he had heard from a friend of a friend. The usual origins of horrible tales. A freshman had been pulling an all-nighter in one of the upper levels when he stumbled upon what appeared to be some kind of gathering. He saw a circle of people, their hands joined together as they all were staring at something in the middle. At first, he couldn't see what they were looking at, and he became more and more terrified when he realized they were all wearing hoods over their head, and they were chanting. The freshman was feeling a mixture of curiosity and courage that was enough to overcome his intentional fear. He assumed he had come upon a hazing and a ritualistic intation, something like that. For some poor soul who had decided the life of fraternity was the way to go, the freshman had taken a few steps toward when one of the members in the circle spotted him. They all stopped chanting at the same time, and their heads swiveled around in unison until they were all staring at him. That's when the freshman saw what was in the middle of the circle. Campus security found him when people started calling in about someone screaming in the library. The guards who found him said that the freshman was covered in blood. and screaming at nothing in particular. None of the blood was from the freshman. There had been no evidence of the meeting, he described. I remembered laughing at the story, but the look in my roommate's face betrayed nothing. I stayed away from the all-nighters in the library after that. I laughed to myself in the archive room of the town hall, the sound escaping from my throat but dying quickly, suffocating by the dust and the thick air. I quickened my pace, walking down the shelves, made corridors as I searched for my family's name among the boxes. Lucky for me, they were in alphabetical order, but unlucky for me, my last name begins with an S. As I walked through the seemingly endless rows of shelving, I began to realize the enemy of the space that surrounded me. I had gone through at least a dozen shelves, and I was still in the letter A. How could this place be so big? As I walked among the shelves, I looked behind me and saw the lights had shut off. The motion sensors were on a quick timer, and only a small area was turned on as I walked underneath them. I don't know whether it is because I thought about the freshman story, or if it was the creepy old woman at the front desk, or simply the gigantic darkness that surrounded me, but at that moment, I wanted to get out of there as quickly as I could. I tried to count to 3, my technique for calming myself down in stressful situations. Mississippi. To Mississippi. I didn't get to 3 before the light overhead turned off. I waved my arms in the air and the light came back on. I started a light jog, cutting across aisles, trying not to think about how many shelves were around me. I only thought of why I was there, my desire for answers. 10 minutes later, I found the S section. Frantically began searching for my last name. Around this time, it dawned on me that this archive room was underground. I don't know why it hadn't clicked before. My mind hadn't been thinking rationally. And now that it was, I thought about all the times I had experienced something I couldn't explain. Every single time something had happened when I was underground. I almost smacked myself. How could I be so blind? I stood still for only a second, as I didn't want the lights to go off again. No sound besides the hum of the overhead light and my own pounding heartbeat. My desire to leave my only infest. I almost gave up on the search before I saw the box I was looking for on the very top of the shelf. I stood on my toes and reached high above me, taking the box in my hand. I put it on the floor and practically ripped the lid of the box. There was only a few items in it. There were 2 file folders and a large rolled up piece of paper. I almost cried out in relief when I saw it was exactly what I wanted. The original blueprints for my house. Finally, something had gone right. I didn't dare to take the time to examine it there. I stashed the item in my jacket, not caring if I was allowed to take things from here or not. I was putting the box back on the shelf when a light came on in the aisle ahead of me. I froze, held my breath. Thoughts flew inside my head. Could a mouse or a rat set the motion sensor off? I stood there enough for the lights above me to go out. Sorry, my dandruff is acting up. I still didn't move. The light ahead of me stayed on. Something was there or moving. I stood still long enough for the light above me to go out. I still didn't move. The light ahead of me stayed on. Something was there, moving, or someone. Then the light flickered off. The darkness was overwhelming. I couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. Listen for a sound. Tiny rodent feet scurrying, breathing, something, or I thought of anything would have been better than the silence that tore into me. I was wrong. The quiet air broke, pierced by an inhuman scream. It lasted for one terrifying second before silence enveloped me again. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think. Then another light came on closer to me this time. I tried to look through the stacks. The light that came on was 4 or 5 shelves away from me. I couldn't see anything through the small cracks between boxes. The light went off again. I tried to recall how far from the elevator door I had gone. I slowly moved my head in the direction I had come from and saw a smaller silver of red light. The exit sign. My way out. Then another high-pitched scream broke the silence. This time it was much closer to where I was. I held my breath again, trying not to cry. Silence. Another light came on. This time it was right beside me. Now I could see something through the shelves. A person. My gaze traveled upwards. I almost screamed when I saw it. A single white eye luring at me through the shelves. Shelving. Instincts kicked in. Fight or flight. I chose flight. I ran harder than I have ever before. Tore off into the direction of the exit sign. Lights behind and ahead of me flickered into action. I could barely hear anything besides my own heavy breathing and the stomping of my feet as they hit the floor. The scream came again, like something being sucked up through a vacuum and getting caught in the nozzle. Something struggling, being choked. The sound was coming up on me, accelerating towards my body, nipping at my heels. The run couldn't have been longer than 30 seconds, but a lifetime passed before I reached the elevator door. Somehow, mercifully, they're open. I threw myself into the cab and pressed any button I could. The light came on in response, making a visible target for whatever was out there. Like a hunk of meat in the oven, 1 Mississippi. All the lights in the archive room was off. The elevator door stayed open. 2 Mississippi. The doors started to close. 3 Mississippi. Just before they closed all the way, an arm came through the opening door. I stared in disbelief as the skeletal limb shot towards me. The skin was sickly gray in spots. I could make out rotting muscle tissue. The nails were long and sharp. They had been whittled into talons. The door sensors kicked in and opened back up, not wanting to shut themselves on somebody. The arm disappeared into blackness. I held my breath again, the silent and still in the floor of the elevator, waiting for the nightmare to devour me. I must have closed my eyes because the next thing I knew I was in the lobby floor. The doors were open, revealing the old woman looking at me. What she must have thought of me sitting on the floor, terror enhanced into my face. There was still light outside, like only minutes had passed. I didn't hesitate. I got up quickly and practically ran to the front door. I had 1 foot outside when I caught words being spoken by the old woman. Did she find you? I was stunned. I wasn't sure I had heard her right. Forgetting momentarily that something had been chasing me only minutes before, I turned around and asked her to repeat herself. Your sister, did she find you? She came in right after you went down. I told her where you were. I couldn't speak at first. A mixture of relief and terror swept through me. This old woman was my salvation, proof that whatever was after me wasn't a figment of my imagination. I asked her if my sister appeared to be normal. She looked at me, a strange look washing over her. Of course, she looks just like you. After I left the town hall, I drove back home. Didn't expect Didn't even wait up to go up to my apartment. I unrolled the blueprints in the car and confirmed what I had suspected. There was no basement in the plans. I looked at the first file folder, finding what I had hoped I would. A request to build a basement at our house, signed by my father. So now I knew my dad built the basement, and someone was hunting me. The same thing that killed my father. Now I had to figure out why. I had to find out how to stop it. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna end it there. I'm reading part 6 tomorrow. It's 7th Thursday, so yes, guys. I'm happy. Oh. Okay, guys. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.